this topic has kind of been murmuring for a little while, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And there's not really a conversation that goes by now where I'm not talking about AI in some way. So, Mark, thanks for the great introduction into me joining today, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. So I guess just a little bit about me and why I'm kind of qualified to come and chat to you all today. I joined Oleeo back in July of 2022, and I brought with me a number of years in product management and go-to-market strategy, all within HR tech and the SaaS industry in general. And since then, my focus at Oleeo has been all around product strategy and focusing on innovation and customer-centric solutions. And I have to say, I'm particularly passionate about the potential that AI brings to transform talent acquisition. And I'm delighted to be here to be able to share my insights with you today. And I have to say, I've been really fortunate in my role at Oleeo to be working with organizations on their AI adoption journeys and their strategies on how to bring it into their technology stack in a really tangible and meaningful way to help them achieve their recruitment goals. So my goal today is all about helping to provide you all with a deeper understanding of how AI is impacting the recruitment landscape, how I see that continuing, but arming you as recruiters with the tools and the tips to really kind of maximize the technology, but ensure that you remain fair and equitable in your recruitment processes. So here at Oleeo, we work with a huge range of organizations, and they really vary in their sectors, their focuses, and also their geographies. And I believe that gives us a really unique perspective on the different recruiting challenges, but equally the opportunities that recruiters are facing today. And it helps us to really think about the way that we can move forward to meet the needs of, as what we know is an ever-changing talent acquisition market. But I have to say, we're not just talking about AI, we're building it. And to be honest, Oleeo have been building products that are data-driven and focused on latest technologies for years. Oleeo is 30 years old in October of this year, and data-driven recruitment has been at the core of the solution since its start. And I believe it's that deep understanding of data and the power that lends in talent acquisition that really helps us to be the experts and to understand the potential of AI like no others in the market. And on the screen there, you can see some of our latest AI-powered tools. So we have a full suite of AI tools available in the market. And some of our latest tools are really there to help with those repeatable, those labor-intensive tasks. So we feel that we kind of are at the front row of the AI revolution, and we're here really to share those insights and the knowledge that we've gained. And it's not just about how those products can work, it's navigating the complex landscape in the background and making sure that you're bringing it in a really fair way, like I said earlier. So as Mark said, we're going to brief look at the landscape. I feel today it's worth acknowledging the landscape, the role that AI can play in that, how candidates are leveraging it. Mark listed a huge amount of tools right at the beginning that are being utilized. And yeah, I have to say, candidates really are using it in ways that I don't think any of us really imagined they would when it first started to emerge into kind of everyday life. How you can manage that usage to make sure that you're remaining fair, you're remaining equitable and ethical throughout your processes in candidate usage, but in your own as organizations, and then how to conquer it. So embracing the good, the bad and the ugly. Like all technologies, not everything is made equal, and it's really important that you understand those differences in the new tools that are coming to the market. And I've used this stat on AI a few times now, and I do find it really interesting. And I kind of take myself, when I think about this stat, I take myself out of my world of head of product and living and breathing AI daily, and think about when I've been a hiring manager and I've got a new role coming into the organization, and I've got to try and write a job description, or I've got to try and tweak a job description because the focus of the role is now slightly different. And that can be really difficult to clearly articulate the role and the skills that you're looking for in an engaging way, in a succinct way, in a highly readable way. And I have to say, I'm not a natural content writer, so I find myself many times with that blank page moment, and then I enter procrastination, and I can sit there for a long time, just trying to think about how to do it, draft after draft after draft. And actually, for me, that's where generative AI really can come into its own. It can avoid those blank page moments. It doesn't have to write everything for you, but it can give you guides. It can reshape what you've written. It can change the focuses really quickly and give you multiple drafts that you can then build on to create something that you really want. And I just think thinking of utilizing AI in those ways kind of takes away some of those scary moments that can be really easily associated with this type of technology. And I would encourage all of you, when you're looking at building out your technology stacks, think about the ways that you can bring it in that will have a direct impact and a fast impact. And that helps to take away some of the uncertainty as you get more confident with those kind of tools. But in relation to the general market, I think, the market continues to be challenging. Budgets continually are getting tighter. The market's getting more and more competitive. And candidates are expecting even more from recruiters. I think I've been talking about rising candidate expectations probably for the last couple of years, but they're still expecting more from you as recruiters. So all of these balls that you're having to juggle are really creating a bit of a perfect storm for where we are in talent acquisition as a whole at the moment. And I'm sure if we did a quick thumbs up in the chat at the moment, the overwhelming majority of you would be feeling that real pressure to do more with less. And actually, we ran some research back in the autumn, and recruiters were saying, I know I need to understand AI. I know I need to do more to kind of upskill myself, but I don't have the time. We have so much to do. We're working in such a talent-tight market. The competition is getting more and more fierce. I don't have the time to give my energy to understand more around AI. And I would say that's because, frankly, it feels like the talent acquisition landscape is a bit of a jungle out there. We're facing that 10-year high in talent demand, and the skills gap is just getting wider than ever before. And candidates are ghosting us. And I would say sometimes probably faster than you can say artificial intelligence. The candidate's gone, moved on, talking to another organisation. So it really is a bit of a tough time to be a recruiter. But I do believe firmly that if you can understand and leverage AI, it actually could be your secret weapon when you're looking at recruitment. So less doom and gloom on kind of where we are in the market and kind of into the main session of today. And I just from the outset want to say that our focus today is about understanding when people are presenting a false image of their capabilities when we're thinking about candidate usage. And we're not looking to highlight or penalize candidates that are using the tools in the right way to support them in their recruitment processes. So, when I think of this slide, I always think of that Instagram versus reality. The shot of me and my boys having pancakes this morning was the idyll, but the build up to it and the rush to get out the door on the school run afterwards were quite different to that snapshot and a moment in time. And that's where it's making sure authenticity isn't lost within the recruitment process with the rise of these technologies. But it's important to remember this isn't just for candidates. So it can be your best friend. So making sure you're thinking about AI in the way that it can really help you. Automate those tedious tasks. Those tasks that take up all of your time, answering general candidate questions about the recruitment process, screening hundreds and hundreds of CVs, even down to scheduling interviews. Really think about how you can bring AI in a practical way. And that frees you then to focus on what really matters, building those relationships with candidates to make those strategic hiring decisions. At the end of the day, AI is a brilliant tool. It's hugely innovative, but people still buy from people. People still agree to new roles and sign up to join organizations based on those real human interactions. And I really genuinely don't see that changing anytime soon. This is an interesting one for me, and it's something I'm finding in conversations. And it's about emerging roles. So actually, AI is starting to create new roles within organizations, whether it's helping with creating prompts, if you're looking at bringing in AI innovation, or whether it's people looking at just generally understanding the data that's coming in, or really firming up on your cybersecurity and compliance. So our first poll of today is really, are you within your organization starting to see a rise of these roles coming in? Just going to have a look to see what these responses are. I always find them super interesting. I know we've got a big variety of types of organizations today. Perfect. Are we able to see kind of how those roles are shaping up? Okay, so they are starting to come through in some instances. Really quite interesting. Like yes is actually higher than I thought it would be. And Callum, yes, working for a cyber company, so it's living and breathing it on a daily basis. I'm sure. So, okay, perfect. Thank you all for taking the time to engage with that survey. Okay, so we're in the midst of an AI revolution in the job market. And candidates are leading the charge. We kind of have to be honest here that they really are leading the charge. They've kind of taken this new technology and they're embracing it. From crafting the perfect cover letters to acing those interviews. They really are starting to use AI in ways that we never imagined. And here is just some examples of how they're using it, making sure they're able to craft those killer applications, perfectly tailoring their CVs and cover letters. Gone are the days of those generic cover letters coming in from every single candidate. But they're utilizing it to really help them kind of find the perfect fit for their roles. And I think this is a really interesting way. How do they match their skills to the roles that are available? We've been there, I'm sure, when we've been looking for our new roles, and you go on and there's hundreds of vacancies, or vacancies that all kind of sound the same. So candidates are looking to match themselves based on the skills that they have and their experiences and the skills that are being called out in those vacancies. And I think it's really important that as recruiters, we understand how and why they're utilizing these technologies. We know they're doing it, but do we really understand what these tools are capable of doing? And I would encourage you all, I know this is being recorded, but I'd encourage you all just take a screenshot or just jot down a couple of these tools if you're not familiar with them already, and go and have a play. And understand the capabilities and what these tools are able to offer candidates. I think in understanding how candidates are using it and to be aware of it and make sure you're able to maintain a fair process, you need to go and have a bit of a play to understand. They all have benefits. They all have kind of negatives or things that can hold you back. It's all new technology, so everybody's kind of learning and iterating. But it's really important to make sure you're aware of what they can or can't do. I ran a session a while ago on this, and I spent quite a lot of time playing with Kick Resume, and it's quite a powerful tool, but it's quite involved. It can take quite a time. It's not a click your fingers and it's done type tool. So I think understanding that candidates are putting an effort in as well when they're looking at these tools to put their best foot forward. So go and have a play. I think, people have always struggled with writing CVs, and these tools are really helping them. But, kind of helping them to shape things and give that best first impression that they can. These tools are great for that. But let's talk about that elephant in the room. There's always a positive, and then there's a counter argument with all of this. And I think this will continue for a while. AI isn't always perfect, and candidates might use AI to create that perfect image that may not reflect their true skills or experience. And we need to be aware of that as organizations and as recruiters, and develop the strategies within our processes to ensure fairness and that authenticity. And I think that's key. Actively encouraging candidates to remain authentic in the hiring process is really key. And I'll share this with Mark so he can share it out more broadly. There was a fascinating article with the Financial Times recently where an organisation was actively encouraging candidates not to use AI in certain parts of the hiring process to ensure that they were able to show who they really were as a person. So this brings us into our next poll, and that's: do you have candidate guidance available today on acceptable AI usage? Lovely. I'm interested to see how this one shapes up when we look at the results. Okay, that's really interesting because I think, you know, we're here today, aren't we? Because we're all looking to learn and how do we move forward. And actually, for me, this is one of the key areas that as organisations and recruiters we need to be looking at. So yeah, so how do we manage candidate use of AI, and how do we conduct those fair and ethical assessments? So this is a really interesting one for me because I think these tools have become really popular and feel like a way to almost combat, if you like, when candidates are creating a really false image of themselves. And I think it's really important that we remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used ethically or unethically. And as organisations and recruiters, we really need to be focused on assessing skills and abilities and not necessarily becoming kind of focused in on just policing if somebody has used it within the process. So it's about thinking about your hiring process, and for me going, okay, well, we're focused on the skills. So we're evaluating the candidate's skills and experience and not whether they've used ChatGPT, Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Claude, whoever, to assist in their application. And I think I say that because I do believe there needs to be a caution when we're utilising AI detection tools. And that's because they're not always accurate. They can produce false positives and potentially disqualify qualified candidates from the process unfairly, or it can produce false negatives. So it's about making sure that you are aware of those tools. And I believe you need to utilize the same level of caution when you're looking at using a detection tool as you are if you're bringing any AI into your technology stack. And the reason I say that is around the EU AI Act, which I am going to touch on briefly just to show why. If you are utilizing these tools, I would say that you always need human in the loop, human oversight, or augment whatever is happening from the AI. So that's not making the final decision. Because if you exclude a candidate automatically because of a detection tool, a candidate could argue that they have been discriminated against and removed from the process unfairly. So you need, if you're utilizing these tools, you need to really kind of understand how they're working and then scrutinize the suggestions and results that it's giving to you, so that you as an organization, as you as a recruiter, are comfortable in those decisions and that you've always got that ability to override. But for me, one of the clearest and easiest things you can do is making sure that you're providing really clear guidelines to candidates on when they can utilize AI and when they can't utilize AI. Making sure that it's really clear that, you know, if they use it to polish up the wording of their covering letter, that's absolutely fine. But if they're using it to answer the behavioural questions within your screening process, that is not acceptable usage, and get candidates to buy into that process. Really encourage them to still give an authentic view of their skills that they're using. And make sure you're offering resources and support to candidates as well, so that they understand when they can use AI, when they can't. But equally, as an organization, you're really clear on what's acceptable use, and then reflect that back into kind of how you should be utilizing it as recruitment teams. And make sure that your hiring teams are educated on the use of AI as well. I know that can feel like a really big task, but it's important that they understand, if they're kind of got oversight on a role and they want to use an AI detection tool, give them some guidelines and some guardrails in which way they can use that, so they're not just relying on these tools to do that screening process for them. It can leave them in a vulnerable position, and ultimately you could lose out on some great talent if you get false positives and you exclude someone from the process on that basis, depending on what your usage policy is. So when we're looking at guidance, I think it's really important that we view AI as being a friend and not a foe. It's such a powerful tool that can enhance recruitment processes, particularly when candidates are using it on the way through as well. That can really, really, really help. And I can just see Richard's put a comment in here, saying utilizing AI effectively is a valuable skill set in itself. Absolutely. And I 100% believe that to utilize these tools really well, it is a skill. To get it to work in the way that you need it to is a skill. It takes time, it takes effort, and it's understanding, encouraging genuine use of AI, and making sure that you're able to ensure fairness and transparency for all candidates. And that's why I believe having clear guidance to candidates is really key, so that they know when they can use it and when they can't, and that you really want that holistic view of them as a candidate, and actually, hiding behind AI for everything or just copying and pasting very standard answers from a GPT type technology isn't going to help them to put their best foot forward. Candidates need educating on these tools as well. So by being there as an organization, saying it's okay if you use it in these circumstances, but actually here we really want to know about you and who you are as a person. People do get very panicky, don't they? And if writing's maybe not something they're particularly strong at, and you've got a heavily written aspect in your application process, particularly if they're neurodiverse, they could be very tempted to utilize that. So encouraging them and letting them know that, your spelling doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to really understand who you are as a person, can help them to have that confidence as well. So we really need to make sure that we're conquering it, we're embracing it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. To really drive technology forward, we have to understand its limitations and keep ourselves up and upskilled on what's happening in the market. And there are some huge benefits that you can get from adopting AI. And when I say adopting AI, I don't just mean you bringing it into your technology stack. I mean adopting AI so that candidates are able to utilize it as well. It can really help with boosting efficiency. It can really help on reducing bias. AI is so good at repeating those boring, labor-intensive tasks that bias can start to bring in bias. We're doing the same task. We've got hundreds of CVs to get through. By CV 15, you forgot what the first one looks like. Oh, it's nearly lunchtime. Those things do kind of creep in, not necessarily, consciously, but they do start to creep in. So it's really important that you understand the benefits as well. But it can help you with making better decisions. It can help reduce costs, but then it can ultimately improve your qualities of hire. And if you think about from the candidate perspective, they've matched themselves based on their skills to the vacancies that you've got available. as recruiters, you're getting pools of qualified candidates coming through into your recruitment process, making the screening process much easier. You've got candidates that match in those skills. They've got the relevant experience from day one. You're not having to go through lots and lots and move them out and try and encourage them to maybe apply for different roles where their skills would be more appropriately matched. So huge benefits on AI from the candidate side and from the recruiter side. And I think it's just really thinking about that. And actually for candidates, utilizing AI to boost that candidate experience for them, making it highly personalized, making sure you're able to keep in contact with them on those regular interviews. I mentioned ghosting a little while ago, and actually, they will walk away and they will go to another organization because the market is so competitive at the moment. So just think about those ways as well, that you can deliver really highly personalized experiences to candidates utilizing the tools available to you. But with everything, there's compliance, there's rules that we need to be thinking about. And actually, AI is becoming more scrutinized day by day. And actually, the EU AI Act is kind of groundbreaking legislation. And it's really setting the stage for responsible AI development and usage. And that really does have important implications within the recruitment process. So a little pyramid here, just so you can kind of understand how the EU AI Act works. And it's based on a risk scale. So right at the top, you've got unacceptable risk. And this is where AI practices are strictly forbidden. So social scoring. So if you're utilizing AI to assign candidates a social score, that is an unacceptable risk within the EU AI Act. If you're trying to measure emotions, analysing a candidate's facial expression or their voice pattern to make inferences about their emotions or personality is an unacceptable risk. Utilising subliminal techniques to try and manipulate candidates without their knowledge or consent, unacceptable risk. So you can see those ones where AI is kind of controlling the decision making and kind of utilizing data to infer different areas. It's very interesting to kind of see those risk categories. Then you have high risk AI systems, and these are systems that can significantly impact an individual. So CV screening and ranking, automated decision making about candidates, predictive analytics for hiring outcomes. So that automated decision making about candidates, if you think about that back when we're talking about those AI detection tools, if you do that automatically and exclude candidates because it says they've used AI, that's within the high risk category. So to utilize these tools, there are specific requirements that you have to make sure that technology adheres to. So conformity assessments, so making sure it's audited, it's tested, it's reliable, and that you're able to mitigate those potential risks. And those potential risks can be in it doing false positives, things like that. Then you've got technical documentation about how the AI works. What are the tools underpinning that technology? It could be utilizing multiple aspects of AI to present you with the result or the score or the rank or whatever it is that you're utilizing it for. So make sure you have all of that documentation available to you. Make sure it's explainable and transparent, that you're able to understand how the system is making any decisions within that process. And the critical point in all of those is this final one: human in the loop, human oversight. So making sure there is a human overseeing any of those AI driven decisions, so that as a human you're always able to override, to change, to reject what the tool is suggesting to you. Excuse me, I'm just going to pause and take a quick drink. And then if we look into limited risk, so these are systems such as chatbots that provide information to candidates. So you have to inform people, excuse me, inform people that the tool that they're using is driven by AI, but they have a much lower risk to those candidates, but you still have to make them aware that they're interacting with AI. So what do these regulations mean? Increasing regulation. So anybody who's developing or bringing these tools to market is under more scrutiny than ever before. They have to be able to showcase what their tools are doing in a very clear and transparent way. It can't be happening in a black box somewhere. It has to be very clear, very transparent, and it has to be regularly audited to maintain performance and show compliance. But you need to be proactive as an organisation to make sure that you're ensuring compliance. So if you're utilising AI detection tools or any tools within your recruitment process, you have a responsibility to make sure that you have all of this documentation in place and to make sure that you're able to continue with a fair and equitable process. And just making sure that you're keeping on top of how these regulations are evolving is key. Join sessions like today. Make sure you've got Google Alerts set up. If there's any changes in regulation, follow thought leaders on social platforms and really try and upskill yourself so you're really aware of of what's happening in the market and how that can kind of impact the tools that you're using. And kind of my closing slide today, and I'm conscious because I promised Mark we'd have loads of times for questions, is from my perspective, candidates are utilising AI and it is delivering huge benefits to them. And it's really important to think about the benefits that it can bring to you, and just generally in recruitment. Increased efficiency, reducing bias, but enhancing that candidate experience. I firmly believe that AI is a game changer, and we're only just starting to scratch the surface of its potential. If I think about conversations I was having just even 12 months ago, the innovation has been exponential and it will continue to be exponential. We talk at Oleeo, it's not something new coming out monthly. It's not even something coming out weekly. It's something new coming out on a daily basis and a new way of applying that technology. So I think it's really important that we embrace candidate usage, but we give them those parameters and those guardrails and those rules around acceptable usage. And we really, as recruitment teams and organisations, think about how we can embrace this new technology. It can always feel really scary. It can always feel, huge bureaucratic things to go through, lots of process, lots of compliance, lots of DPIAs. But actually, the more you get comfortable with the technology, the more you understand, the more you can really unlock its potential. And by embracing it on both your side and the candidate side, I genuinely think recruitment processes will be transformed, and I would say in the near future, as opposed to the distant future. So I'm going to stop.